y'all, it's your girl Sarah
and Corra,
and we are a truly wonderful pair.
Throw on some PJs and relax as we discuss our favorite show of the week.
This week we will be discussing Stranger Things Volume 2. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen already, that is not my fault. Please go and watch the show because it is really good.
Season 5, Volume 2.
Season 5, Volume 2. So we start basically where we left off the last volume or the last episode, where Will basically destroyed the Demigorgons because he was able to tap into the hive mind. And then, oh my God, he's a sorcerer.
So, yeah, we start back off with basically the same scene, picks up immediately where we left off, right after he killed those 3 Demogorgons, snapped their bones, right after. Mm-hmm. And we start, and the first episode starts pretty solid, right?
Yeah, because we figure out, well, I mean, yeah, we were at odds at this point because the military, the one thing I do hate about the military in their role in this season is them not factoring Vecna. Because now we know from Kali, I think from the same episode, right? Later in this episode, when after they rescue Kali, we find out that Dr. K, I'm trying not to call her Sarah Connor, but Dr. K is restarting the POP program, which is implementing, I guess, what originally was Henry's blood into pregnant women. Now that I guess Dr. K thought maybe if we find any of them, that would be possible. But she's only found one of them, and there's 12. So I don't know if all 12 survived, if any of them escaped like 11 and 8. But they're starting the program again and recreating more child soldiers, basically. If we're really going to put it, it's a program to have child soldiers, or at least child superhumans, so that probably they could have them in a lab and have them, what is it called? Not practice or rehearse, have them train to be like killers and these unstoppable machines because they have these powers.
Right.
But obviously with 8's sample or 8's blood, it's not transfusion as Henry's blood, because as she put it, they were just pale imitations of Henry. But so far 11 has been, I guess 11's power or 11's blood has more Henry in it than they're calculating, which I understand is important. And I feel like if we're going to add this element back into the story and make her important again, it feels like this whole season she kind of got sidelined in that case. I think they're just adding another risk element to 11 instead of just making her the forefront character like they should have.
That was in the later episodes of the volume that those ended up happening in. I think we see 11's sister too. What is it? It's this one, and it's the next one where we see the bridge collapsing.
The bridge doesn't collapse.
Not the bridge collapse, but we see the wall open. That's when we learn about these this new experiment where they tried to use Kali's blood, but I guess it was too too strong or something, and all the women ended up dying. But yeah, the experiments are continuing again, but under Dr. K, which is interesting because I thought Henry was going to be doing that kind of thing, ironically.
Well, he is in his own way. What we're learning, I guess we learned from Dustin and Dr. Brenner's notes is what is it? We didn't get that far yet. What we learned later through Dr. Brenner's notes was him trying to track Henry, right? Mm-hmm. So if that was the original, what was it called? The original reason for Dr. Brenner's whole thing. First it was to just create more of Henry, right? To figure out what the hell went on with Henry, why his blood is so special, and to, I guess, create more kids like him. But my thing is also too, when he was the orderly and his powers were subdued by the implant that was put into him, at any point he could have taken that out, right? He uses 11 to take it out for him, but at any point he could have taken that out himself.
I think it was hard because it was suppressing. It might have been some kind of, because they're weak to sound, it might have been some kind of sound or vibration thing that made it hard for him to use his abilities. And then also it's in a hard to reach spot, so it's probably hard for him to visualize how to take it out. Yeah.
So we find, 11 finds her sister Kali, and we learn more about that. Also, Hopper going into the situation not knowing what was on the other side and just ready to kill himself. I feel the way that these characters, all the main characters, I feel like in a show like this with the stakes so high,
Right.
somebody main would have died already and been replaced. So my thing is, like, instead of them killing Bob in season 2 or 3, they should have killed Hopper in season 2 or 3, and then Bob would have been like I guess the next step up. But I guess they needed someone more militant for such things, for how they were planning like the crawls and such. Because imagine Bob's character really being involved in a crawl.
I suppose so. I feel like season 3 was a great send off for Hopper. I feel like sometimes when a character in a show stops serving or isn't serving their purpose, I feel like sometimes that's the best way to kill off a character, because he was a little rough in season 4, and I guess they're trying to find their footing with him in season 5 now.
Yeah, they spent way too much time with him in Russia. I forgot how they released the episodes last time, but if they would have spent the 4 episodes of him getting back to Hawkins, I feel like then we would have been able to have more episodes with Harper getting back acclimated again in Hawkins without Joyce. Because realize first half of the season is also Joyce and the Byers trying to get back over to Hawkins because they're with 11 in California, and that's when Brenner takes her, and they're like finding more things, and then they got to go back because of Vecna and all that shit. But yeah, we didn't even get like a chance for Hopper to like get reacclimated, because once Hopper is back from Russia, that's the same time Joyce gets back from LA with 11, and at the same time we're all meeting up with each other, learning these new things about like Max, what's happening with Max and everything like that. So it just feels like, and this is also a part of the time jump that they decided to have. So between seasons 4 and 5 is the 18-month time jump, and I feel like even now into volume 2 with what's going on, we definitely needed at least a couple epilogue episodes of those 18 months, because with a lot of dialogue that's going on now, I think a lot of people, obviously with the pacing and with the runtime that the show is typically known for, they're trying to fill it with all this information, all this dialogue, when really we ain't got the time for none of this shit, because everything's happening right now. So if all of these resolutions should have happened in that 18 months, when they were doing all these different crawls and trying to figure out the lay of the land of what the military has in the base, because how all them times Hopper has gone in and done the crawl, gone to the upside down, they said 30 times, somehow 30 times, right? How did he not know that there was a military base? If there's military people going in there, there's clearly a base. How did you not find that fucking base? That's also my thing. Like, I would have liked to have seen how these crawls have went. Because if it went the way that it did here, they should have been made a lot of more headway on figuring out what's going on with the upside down. Because now that they have wasted all this time, allowed Vecna to think of his plans and to stalk these children, now it's, we only have a literal day. Like, at the end of the volume 2, we literally start with the kids getting, the plan of Vecna literally commencing, and they only have a short amount of time. And there's only one episode left, and there's still so many unanswered questions.
Yeah, I mean, they start doing a couple of things. Like, I think part of this feels very spin-off-ish. Like, they start introducing characters like Holly, and Holly's great. And they reintroduce 11's sister. And
which I think was interesting, because a lot of people did say that to explore more of the kids from the lab, which is great. But in the way they did it, especially with that standalone episode that didn't need to be in there, but it could have been, by itself. I think now them adding Kali can make that episode not so much of a standalone.
I can agree with that. I wonder, I don't really know what they're doing with her yet. I think that's the uncharted territory for the character.
Yes, so I think her coming back, I think, is also a rebrand of their their reboot. So it's like another not reboot of a spinoff, a soft reboot of a spinoff, which is so funny. Why is all this, like, I feel like it's all meta, but them trying to do another soft reboot of the spinoff, because you can feel it, whether it be Kali trying to stop Papa's program from restarting, whether it's like these kids who have been attached to Vecna and possibly them having their own powers, the 12 kids, because that's another 12 kids that are being affected. You know what I mean? So even if they had some weird spinoff, it just feels like this story of Stranger Things isn't done, especially since that they have the stage play.
Yeah, that also is kind of a pain to talk about because there's at least a couple details in the play that have not really been directly talked about in the show. Like they mentioned that at least they imply that Henry went to school with Joyce, Hopper, and Steve's dad.
Yeah.
But that's not like when we see Henry and Joyce, like he doesn't say anything to her or Hopper. I guess when he's never really been around Hopper, but he's never really said anything to Joyce, which I find to be kind of weird.
Yeah, and the clips that I've seen of what the play is about, there is a B storyline with Hopper. I'm assuming, I think they said it was Bob, but I could be wrong. It could be it could be Harrington's dad. But it definitely is Bob. It definitely is Hopper and Joyce trying to figure out who's killing the animals and their own investigation. So they don't have like a direct connection to Henry. But it does say that he was in the play, which is where his love interest was also involved. So I think their connection is with the girl that he has a crush on. Maybe Joyce is her friend or something like that. I'm intrigued because I know they have like a behind the scenes of the show and how they, made everything and put everything together for the Broadway play. Right. But as far as what my basic knowledge of what that story is, I think Joyce is putting on the play with like the drama club and everything like that, because at the end the play is involved in the story somehow. I don't know, but I definitely want to check that play out. But I feel if they were going to have this play, it should have been after season 5 came out, because now there's a lot of confusing narratives about this play, especially coming from the Duffer Brothers. When one place they're saying it doesn't have anything to do with the story with season 5, it's going to be something separate, but it's clear as a day it's about Henry, which is the main villain of not just Stranger Things in general, because obviously, but the main villain for season 5 and his backstory. And so far, what we've seen from volumes 1 and 2, we only got maybe a teaser of his backstory when Max and Holly
go inside the cave,
or fall down the cave that Henry fell down. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, why wasn't this pushed, or why didn't this wait till after season 5 came out, after the finale came out? Or if so, why not just keep it in London and not have anybody in America see it yet until like the season 5 is released? Because I feel like some narratives with even his story is a little bit confusing, especially when it comes to the cave and his origins, and like the origins of Dimension X and all that.
Yeah, I mean, last season was pretty good at interweaving at least Creel House and Eleven's backstory at the lab, at the Hawkins lab.
Yeah.
But in a way where it ended up being about Vecna, like all three of those things tied in together like really, really well. Now it kind of feels like I at least want to know, like, is he being controlled? Is he working with this thing?
That is also my pet peeve of this season as well. As much as they spent a lot of season 4 with build up, and the build up was great, like especially with revealing who Vecna was of 3 different people in 3 different stages. It was great build up, a great finale. But season 5 wasn't that season for build up. If we weren't going to have any build up, it would have been the time jump that y'all decided to have randomly 18 months later. I feel like they only did that for the sake of the actors being older than what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, the actors, I mean, I gotta really say this, like Holly, I think was she a baby at the start of the show?
She was definitely like elementary school, maybe kindergarten.
She was really like she was supposed to be really young, like when all the original 4 kids were the kids.
Oh yeah, because they were babies. So yeah, she probably was a toddler.
She was, I think, and now she has agency in the story. But I think like this is the final season, and I'm a little concerned that they're putting so much on. Like you were showing her so much. I'm afraid that this makes me feel as though they're going to then spin this off, and then that's where we may or may not get answers to questions.
But if for you think they're gonna spin this off specifically with Holly's character?
Not necessarily just Holly, but I think Holly, maybe some of the other kids, but definitely if it was anyone, it would be Holly and Derek.
I see what you mean. I mean, if they're able to tie this finale up nicely and really end it all, I wouldn't feel like there would be a need for a spinoff for those two unless they do somehow get powers through all this. Because if when they're in Vecna's cave or lair or wherever in Dimension X, their mouths are like glued to this tentacle thing, the same thing that Will's mouth was like glued to, and it feels like it's part of the Mind Flayer. It feels like it's part of the Mind Flayer, and that even if you see the way that the vines and the scales on Vecna moves, it moves as if he is corrupted by the particles of the Mind Flayer. Now, I have no idea why we have yet to see this damn thing all of season 5 or even season 4. We haven't even, the last time we've seen the Mind Flayer was season 3 when it came into its human form, and then it may have been talked about in season 4, but I don't even remember them mentioning anything about the Mind Flayer in season 4. Like I said, it's just maybe a mention, but if something that was so vital in like the first few seasons and the development of this show but has yet to be mentioned, like no one has said anything about the Mind Flayer so far. Like no one has said anything about it corrupting. Like we know it corrupted Will. What about if it's corrupting Vecna? Like we don't, like how does that not being a question that's asked, you know what I mean, in the group?
Yeah, I feel as though I don't mind it not being seen in season 4 because the tallest order in that season was just introducing Vecna and weaving that together as beautifully as they did. But in my personal opinion, I feel as though like Dustin mentioned that Vecna is just a Mind Flayer's general, and it's like that's great, but also it's kind of alluded to that it might be corrupting him. But like this was our big bad. Like where did it go after season 3?
And honestly, I don't think the Mind Flayer is something to destroy, because once we learn at the end of episode 7, their plan, well, once we figure out Vecna's plan, right? When he finally takes the kids to Camazotz, which is in his head, which is his mind palace or whatever, when he finally takes the kids to Camazotz, and they're all convinced that they're ready to be saviors of the world. Where was I going with this? Damn it, I done lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens. In general, when the kids are taken to Camazotz, it's just the way that they rallied around, and just obviously Vecna saying it's easier to manipulate a kid, which is true, because after Derek helps out the group with getting the kids, or trying to get the kids into the tunnels, he basically like radicalized them and creates like the cult of Mr. What's-It. And I feel like if he didn't do that, those kids would have been a little more susceptible to what Holly was saying versus them being gun-ho for it, because they have dipshit Derek to be like, oh, we need to make sure we listen to Mr. What's-It because the monsters are coming, They see the monsters, and then the next thing they see is Mr. What's-It. So literally in that order, him radicalizing them solidified their loyalty for something they have no idea what's happening, and that just sucks for Holly because she didn't know where she was.
Yeah, that was kind of terrible. I also think that because it, like, you saw how they were acting, right? They were really weird. I'm like, is this them being susceptible to like being a part? Like, is this what a human brain is like, being a part of the hive?
That too, because with the vine thing that their mouths are like glued to, they could be fed this anger and the influence of the Mind Flayer particles that's influencing Henry and his mission or whatever he's about to do.
I'm wondering if when they come, I wonder what's gonna happen with them when they get rescued. Like, that's my thing. Like, are they gonna be like Will? Like, are they gonna have to like knock these kids out?
True. And see, okay, so I got back to what I was talking about earlier. So the Mind Flayer, right? They can't destroy this thing. Because the whole point is just to bring their worlds together, so they just have to destroy the bridge, which is the Upside Down, that's bridging them together. So it's just a matter of closing a portal that can never be opened again. But that's the thing, it can never be opened again. So is that what makes it feels like a spinoff? because this is something that could be revisited again, because portals can always be reopened.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me. Like, if these kids, like, what are these kids' connection? Like, is this, because this is different. This is slightly different than what Will did, because they're getting like. Henry's using them 100% as a power conduit. Henry didn't know what he was doing with Will initially, because Will was kind of like a test subject.
Yes.
But we don't know what kind of exposure these kids are going to have after they're saved. Like, what kind of a bit, like, if they're going to be sensitive to sunlight because of the particles of the mind flayer. Like, how deep does that go in their blood and stuff?
Right. And then also any effect that the Dimension X, where they're sitting at, because while they're sitting there, they're being engulfed in this organic, well, it's an extension of Vecna, because you can tell he created this. So it's like, it's definitely flesh like, but we really don't know what this material is. It's like some type of organic material, because it, like I said, it is flesh like.
Yeah, it's like a skin layer.
Yeah.
That they're trapped underneath. It's not hard to break out of it when you're free of the trance.
Because it's clear that Holly was able to get through it.
And she's, and like everyone else, she's like really young, so it shouldn't be that hard to break out. But the thing that's the hardest to break out of is his trance that he puts the kids in.
Yeah, they have to go through like their memory and mind. Well, it's good that they really only need one person to do so. Because if we see that, we saw that Max tried to go through his mind palace to set herself free, and it didn't work. And then she had to go through Holly's mind palace, and she was right there. So really, and then they also used they used Henry's own mind palace to get through and try to go to the beginning. So they only really need one person to get to the beginning. As long as they have one kid, maybe dipshit Derek, if he gets out of his dipshitness and is able to help out, they can get through him, and then they can all leave that way, as long as they have them. So now the plan is, so the Vecna's plan, right, when he made the 4 portals, was to weaken the bridge between Hawkins and the Upside Down, so that the actual bridge, which is the Upside Down, they could use that to bring Dimension X closer to our world. Now he's using the 12 kids to help weaken the Abyss, which is what they're called, Dimension X, also the Abyss, to weaken the Abyss so that he can merge them together, because he was telling the kids that he wanted to bring this better world to our world to help stop whatever monsters he's creating in these kids' heads. So whatever vague plan that they have, yes, everyone on the internet have said that when it came to kids getting the plan together, Hawkins' kids is where it's at. But they have a lot of half-ass plans, because they don't have full knowledge of what's going on. Even from just now, 7 episodes in the 5th season, they just found out what they knew about the Upside Down is not correct. It's not an actual flip of our world. It's just a bridge between the world in which Vecna got his powers and, all that good shit. So it just feels like they need to go through Brenner's notebooks more with Dustin and his teacher, one. Even though we don't have the time, which I feel which would have been great for those 18 months, but we could use the teacher and use those notebooks to really analyze what we're going up against. Because yes, 11 can be in the tub in the Upside Down, and yes, they can go and grab the kids at a moment where the bridge is close enough. The gap is close enough. But that is a very small margin in this last episode.
Yeah.
And I'm just nervous.
I hope that it's not just them waiting for the tower to poke through, but that at least 11 can push through. Because if he weakens it, then hopefully she can literally push through the actual where the antenna is, push through that area, because it should be weak enough for them to get through there, right?
Yes, but what I think they're trying to get her to do, so it seems like they need two tubs, because they need one for Kali and then they need one for 11. And while they're in their tubs in the Mind Palace, everyone else is gonna physically go get them kids. So it's like they need an A team and a B team. A team needs to stay with the 2 psychics, the 2 telekinesis in the tubs, to make sure that nobody is blocking them, even because he's going to send the Demogorgons and Demodogs. They need a B team to go make sure that they're secure in those tubs while the A team goes and grabs the kids. And the A team needs to be swift, because if the A team focuses on just physically getting those kids out of there, they will have enough time. But I don't know about them blowing up the upside down in efficient time. This is going to be very messy, and if this finale isn't at least 2 hours, there's going to be so many more unanswered questions, which feels like that's why there might be a spinoff, because this is the last season and this is the last episode, and we still have so many questions unanswered.
There's so many characters. Like, Robin has a girlfriend. We still have Murray still alive, surprisingly. Hopper's still alive.
I definitely don't think Murray should have lasted as long as he did, but we just need plot devices. Clearly, we have way too many plot devices and not enough sacrifices. Like, if it's not 11 and or Harper doing the sacrifice, they're definitely starting to gear it up between Will, which he's definitely gonna die after
there's no contest. He's dead.
He's definitely gonna die because of his connection to the hive mind and the fact that he just had this big confession and this big coming out scene, which I'm gonna let you talk more about that as a queer person yourself. But with this big confession and coming out scene, it's a clear message that he might not make it out, because we need to end the hive mind, and if we end the hive mind, then we don't know what's going to happen to Will, and we don't know if 11's going to be able to get him back.
Like, the only thing that's annoying is that in season 3, Robin came out, and that was great because she was like, I like girls, I've liked girls for like a long time. And even if she was coming off of like a bender on Truth Serum, which was a funny scene.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's what the basis of that scene was.
They were in somewhat of a safe area, like in a bathroom, talking about life, and that's how it came up.
Right.
But here, it feels, and after that, for like in the next 2 seasons, she meets someone, and that's great. But for the context of what happening to Will, I feel as though he didn't have enough time to explore his options besides having a crush on Mike that he acknowledges is requited.
Yeah, because they have that moment in the car where he tries to... I thought that was his brother that he tried to come out to, but I forgot that was Mike when they're in the back of the car and he like turns to the window and cries.
Yeah.
That definitely should have been his moment to come out to Mike, because... I thought that he already came out in season 4 and that was just going to be the general consensus. But the Duffer brothers decided to wait until this moment for him to come out, because they wanted his secret to be held over him more, so that he doesn't have so Vecna doesn't have to hold anything over Will, which I understand. Like you said, he needed to have more time to be out, because the same way they let someone like Robin, who we just met season 3, be able to have her secret crushes and her secret relationships and still be kind of like closeted.
Right.
I know obviously as a little kid you have a crush on your friend or whatever, but if he knew that wasn't going to be reciprocated, I feel we should have gotten the same Will should have gotten the same opportunity as Robin to have some type of like secret crush where he gets to go to like the janitor's closet at the school and like kiss a boy or something like that, I
agree. And like you said with the janitor's closet thing, even if he did not come out, I really would have liked for him to have had at least a moment with like another boy earlier, and like,
or even California. That would have been easier for him to have that moment in California versus the middle of America, especially in the 80s and how homophobic it was.
Right.
So for that scene is very accepting, which is great to see. I think in a very realistic, obviously, setting, not gonna lie, Harper and Murray would definitely been the homophobic ones. Now, Steve wouldn't have been as homophobic because he's already accepted Robin, but I definitely know for sure those two brawling brutes definitely would have been using the F word around. It definitely would have been some animosity, but for the sake of this world-ending threat that's about to hit the entire world, obviously, okay, we love everybody.
Yeah, like part of it is a lot of it is the writer's fault, but some of it just feels a little unfair that Will comes out now, and it's like it feels crazy because it's like a lot of characters don't really have any time to really react to that kind of a confession, in the sense that like if they were going to support, like, because they're supportive, right?
Yeah.
So even if they're supporting him, like, they don't really have the ability to kind of react in a positive way to that, because we're about to fight a giant space demon and rescue a bunch of kids and try to stop the world from ending.
Also, I did rewatching everything all together. I didn't realize not everybody got up to hug him.
No.
Even though Max should have been the only one not to get up, I forgot who else out on the side didn't get up to hug him. So then it made me feel like, was this necessary for everyone to hear if everyone wasn't going to be accepting and hugging on him?
I feel as though it should have just been the core boys and 11 he told this to. Maybe with his mom and Jonathan on the side, but definitely not the extended Stranger Things cinematic universe.
He should, if this was going to be this moment, it should have been with the core 5 in the basement like a D&D game, and he would have came out to them. I think either when he was in California or within those 18 months, he should have separately come out to Joyce and Jonathan. Because as much as Jonathan is being used in the plot, I'll be forgetting Jonathan is even his brother.
Yeah, they interacted in I think season 1, I think season 2, they had this really, or 3, they had this moment where they were talking about music, and it was really cool.
Yeah, they definitely, I feel like, I don't know. It is also our fault. We definitely did skip a lot in season 4. So maybe we should have done that too before we watch the finale, is watch the whole thing all together. But even then, I still feel like Jonathan had more scenes with his pothead friend in California than he had with his brother. Or at least it wasn't as many heartfelt scenes with Jonathan.
I feel like the sibling thing for them works when Will was younger. Like, it worked a lot better in seasons 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Because he actually had to look after him. Like, he had no choice but to, because that's his brother. He had no choice but to look after him. So they did share scenes together in a way that was kind of forced because it needed to be their siblings. But like, now that they don't need to spend time together, I do forget.
Yes. And that whole scene with Nancy and Jonathan, the goo.
Oh my God.
I never understood it being a breakup until, I guess, understanding him saying unproposed, or do you accept my unproposal? And I'm like, if that was the case, why even say anything? Like, oh, that was such a weird scene for it to be a breakup scene.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't the right time for that. Again, the 18 months. A lot of these scenes could have been circumvented in an epilogue episodes of the 18 months in which they decided to wait between season 4 and season 5.
Right. And also, along with that, like, while they're having this conversation, like, they're almost being melted to death. Like, it's not the greatest time. And also, you would think in a moment like this, they would come together. But instead, they basically kind of like...
This seemed like a recollection conversation of like, oh, maybe we are misunderstanding each other because we're not communicating well, and this is our first step. But if that was the case of they've been having issues, they don't like each other clearly, and if there's a hint that she might have hooked up with Steve, which if we're not going to show what happened in those 18 months, she definitely did hook up with Steve. Because why all of a sudden we start season 5 when we already have a consensus that Steve is over Nancy, Nancy's over Steve? Why are we restarting this love triangle with Jonathan, Steve, and Nancy with their macho man competition when she admitted that they're just friends, or he even admitted that they're just friends? Why have this competition if there's clearly more than just friends? Because there's more that happened.
Yeah, and I have to say the whole love triangle thing. Like, I like Steve. I think everyone likes Steve. It's hard not to like him. Joey Curie was in that one episode of Empire. It's so funny. I just wanted to randomly bring that up. And this whole Jancy love triangle thing with Steve, I wasn't there for it, just because I'm like, we got bigger fish to fry. And every single time Jonathan was trying to be romantic with Nancy, it happened immediately after Holly was kidnapped.
Yeah, I don't know why Murray thought it was a good idea to give him a ring at such a time like this, but I'm gonna keep bringing it up because we have that random time gap in which a lot of this could have been solved within that time gap. but we for some reason have allowed the time gap to just gloss over everything, and then now we are faced with all these things at one time while we're also facing a world threat with people who don't have powers, mind you. Like, yeah, there's one thing to have a world threat, let's say for a Marvel or DC movie, because we have people that have powers and we have superhumans to be able to defeat the evil, but this is some regular people in Indiana,
right?
Like, we need to figure, like, put our priorities need to be put in place here, people. We need to figure out how we need to get all of our ducks in a row before we make all these plans. And then once we got our ducks in a row, it's time to execute. And what's it called? It's time to execute.
Yeah, it's time to execute our plan. Yeah. I feel like I'm not sure how well this plan's gonna go, but I feel as though I want most of this last episode. I want 11 to drive the conflict because I feel as though she's been sidelined, and that's crazy to say because
what would be the conflict that she drive? It wouldn't be her conflict. Her conflict is more being driven by Callie because of Hopper's untrust with Callie, which is rightfully so, because like she's got her head in the game in one way, and then after one conversation now she's like, oh well, I'm thinking another way. And especially with the theme of Hopper trying to sacrifice himself at any given point in time, clearly since the beginning of the show, at any clear point in time he's ready to sacrifice himself. 11 is learning from such things, especially with her having this power and being the start of all of this. She knows she has to end it. So yeah, possibly 11 might kill herself. I just don't think she will, because I don't know. I don't think she will. I think in some way Harper's gonna try and sacrifice himself. If not Harper, Will's gonna die. And even though Steve and Dustin had that moment of if you die, I die, I think that's a red herring. I don't think they're going to die.
I feel as though some characters, I didn't mind character death. I didn't mind not killing characters until the final season, but we're waiting all the way into this episode to kill characters. I'm like, I feel as though Murray kind of, I don't want to say this, but he served his purpose. He's kind of disgusting, and I don't really like him.
He's so it's so weird that they keep calling him Santa Claus, even though, like, I get it. He has a truck that comes to deliver things that he gets from the base. But, like, Santa Claus is a lot more jolly, and he's just a douche.
He's also really, like...
He's very crude. And it's like, you are around the kids, bro.
Yeah, that too. Just, like, watch your mouth, man.
He does not give a shit, which is why... How long did it take for Alexi to die in season 3?
Probably, like, I think 4 or 5 episodes.
So at some point, Murray should have been dead.
I wouldn't mind Alexi living if Murray died.
They needed to kill Alexi. But they also, I don't know, they're spending too much time on the main characters, which I get. I know they didn't want to kill a character because then they would spend more time grieving, like with Dustin grieving over Eddie's death. Mm-hmm. I feel like they definitely got that right, because you can never put a time on grief. Everyone grieves differently.
Yeah, what is it? The last 3 episodes were great for his development and processing Eddie's death a lot more. Mm-hmm. And he even talked to Steve about it. I think he's not really ever going to let that go, specifically because he's wearing the same, like, ghillie suit he was wearing in season 4 when they fought the Demobats together.
What ghillie suit?
Justin wears the same suit he wore in season 4 in the final battle.
That he's wearing all season 5?
He wore at the end when they were getting ready to suit up for the final confrontation.
So what he's wearing in season 5 is at the end of season 4?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. What else happened?
Oh, Max. Jeez.
We finally get Max back.
Oh my god, that scene took so long. Like,
I think... listen... I definitely think Max coming back should have been a part of the 18 months. Now, I understand we needed her to be inside Vecna's mind to help 11 navigate through his mind with all that she's been through those 2 years. I get that those 2 years she spent in his mind was to help. But honestly, she didn't need to be in there as long as she did. I'm so sorry. Because we wait until the last second to last episode, she's back, but she's not even able to use her limbs because she's been in a coma for so long.
And her eyes are like, I think, different. Like her eyes look a lot different than like she's different because she hasn't been able to like use her arms or her legs, and like she's kind of like disabled for now.
She is disabled for now while she's in recovery because she just woke up. And I feel if they wanted to use her as another valuable player in this scheme of plans, they really should allowed her to regain back her feeling and everything, so that when push comes to shove, she's ready to get up there and be part of the group.
Or my other favorite on what I feel like they could have done with Max, because it feels like what it really feels like is they made the first 4 episodes, right?
Yeah. And
then they predetermined the outcome of the finale, and then they wrote in everything else.
It really feels like they are working backwards. As much as the Duffer Brothers are going around and saying, stating that this was their plan all along, we can tell within your work that this really wasn't the plan all along. Because as we were watching the first 5 minutes of the season 5, they shouldn't have to use a whole nother actor for that scene. For the scene with Will and a little bit of him being in the Upside Down, for the fact that they filmed Will in the Upside Down many a time season 1. And if they were planning on whatever was going to happen in season 5, this shouldn't have been a scene that was just filmed. This should have been like a release of something they filmed years ago, or just like a refresh of what's it called? A refresh of a scene we've already seen before. Now, it didn't have to be Vecna to be the one to, have him up against the thing, but at least see him being hunted down by the Demogorgon.
Vecna, what is it? Talking about Will. The Will scene, I do agree, was interesting, because I feel like season 1, because it was originally supposed to be an anthology series and each season was supposed to be different, I think that maybe they left Will there with a tentacle and, glued to his mouth. I feel like they did that specifically to leave the back door open in case they want to like do something with it, and this was what they ended up doing with it.
So what season was it when Hopper and Joyce found Will?
It was at the end of season 1. It was, I think, a week after he had been kidnapped.
So they went to the Upside Down.
Yeah, I think they made a deal with the Hawkins Energy Lab people, and they were wearing hazmat suits when they grabbed him.
Got you. It's just interesting because as people watch the first few seasons, you could tell the lore was being built upon. Now, there's nothing wrong with building upon lore, because it gives you a chance to really step back, look at the story you've created, and be able to make it make sense and weave it all together. Because you can start with the bones of a story, with the basics, obviously something from D&D. A lot of this is heavily inspired by D&D characters and the whole concept of the game, which is what it's based off of, and then be able to build off of that with the characters from the game and really create your own story, which the Duffer Brothers have been able to do beautifully. But you can't be like, this is what we've decided, this is what we came up with all along, when even the story for Henry is something that's new and was brought to our attention, like kind of like before the season even started, because they released and announced the play before the season even started. So we didn't even know what was happening in season 5 before they even did all this. So it's like they kind of spoiled season 5 for us in that sense.
Just a little bit. The play throws a wrench in a little bit of the ideas going on here, because it's like, when did they come up with that play? Like, when were these ideas flowing? Like, were these ideas concurrent with like the themes that are happening in season 5?
Yeah, I think once they've introduced Henry Creel, I think they created this show so that they could explore more with Henry. Now, I don't know why this isn't a spin-off series of in and of itself on Netflix, which would make more sense.
Oh yeah, like a prequel, they could totally do that.
That could also be a thing.
I wouldn't mind that as a spinoff because that's before.
Yes, if they turned the play into a prequel series, that is okay too. We could also get more information about, you know, Joyce and Hopper when they were in high school and all that stuff. Maybe possibly more information about this abyss and the mind flayer, if anything. Yeah, that'd be interesting to delve into. But with the abyss and the bridge and all this crap, so with Dustin, what was it? Was it Dustin that decided to go to the lab because of a signal?
The telemetry signal, he tracked it over the Hawkins lab, which is also where...
So they found out that the center of this whole place was at the Hawkins lab. So they wanted to go figure out what more they literally can know about this upside down so they could get more information. And we find out that Brenner was doing a lot more than just creating child soldiers. Once 11 banished him back to Destination X, it seemed that he used 11 to track him down. And then in that effort is when she made the bridge between the abyss and Hawkins to find him. And then how did Brennan find this out? Like Brennan must have gone to the upside down himself as well through the lab, because not only like all his notes were there and everything like that. And then how was he able to find this energy, the exotic matter? That's my thing. How was he able to find this exotic matter and like be able to, well, how was his lab able to find it and do experiments on it?
Since they had a gate in the Hawkins laboratory, I have to assume that it wasn't very hard for them to find the exotic matter. And I think his notes might have been flipped the other way too, because every organic every inorganic piece of material, ironically, ended up in the upside down. So anything that wasn't a plant, like a car, buildings, like whole stores, were transported there.
Which is interesting.
I wonder what happens if you have like a can of like food and you go upside down and you go back and you look at that can. What happens to it in the, like, what's the upside down version of the can of, like, let's say it's like a can of corn. Like, what would that look like?
I think it's just a shell.
Oh.
It's like a shell of what it is. Because if I'm even thinking like season 3. Like, I know season 4 they go to the upside down to try and find, I don't know what they were trying to find, but I know they go to the upside down in season 4 because that's where Eddie dies. But in season 3, it spends most of the time of the mind flayer trying to get to our world. So we do see many attempts of the mind flayer trying to go into our world, right? And now all of a sudden they bring Henry into this to say this was the plan all along for him to bring the abyss and the mind flayer to our world.
Because it wants, well, that's interesting too, because
if that's the case, why did it use Billy? You know what I mean? If Vecna was supposed, like let's say that we go with whatever the Duffers are saying, if they are saying that they came with this the whole time, why use Billy? Why not just have Vecna come in and do what he should have been doing from jump, instead of using Billy as a source to create, instead of using Billy as the vessel to create the human form of the mind flayer?
Yeah, that's a little confusing.
Because you didn't need Billy, because Billy don't got powers.
Yeah, their goals are kind of different, because in season 2, at least at the end, it makes it, because when they're at the winter dance in season 2, you flip upside down to see where the mind flayer is at, and it looks like the way that it existed in the first couple of seasons, it was so hell-bent on trying to get inside of our dimension and just breaching that gap. Like when the winter prom happens, it's literally hovering over the school, the upside down. It looks so mad and so angry.
Yeah, so that image of it being over a huge building, that's the school. Yeah, like, we can't be introducing the kaiju and then forget about the kaiju. It's a fucking kaiju. Where did it go? You can't just lose a kaiju.
Yeah, like, maybe Dimension X is its strongest point and the Upside Down is its weakest point. So maybe by doing, hopefully this happens, because this is like kind of what I would like to happen. It makes sense. If Dimension X is the strongest point and the Upside Down is its weakest point, it's crashing so that it can just straight up invade through Dimension X to our world and just completely forget about the Upside Down.
And the peak that we did get of Dimension X, I'm surprised we didn't get like, you know, where it's been thundering and lightning and the upside down. I'm surprised we didn't get the image of the mind flare in the background as it was hovering over the kids when they were in the dance in that same scene. Like, any inkling of it, even in the background, even if it's just like a cloud or something, it just feels like no mention of it at all this season. Feels a big disservice, not only to the fans of the show since season 1, but also just to the story. Because why are we introducing something so big that was controlling Will in the beginning? That's the thing too, right? This thing was controlling Will from the beginning, and it was saying the mind flare, the mind flare, the mind flare. And as soon as Henry is being introduced into the story, now all of a sudden it's Vecna, Vecna, Vecna. How is that? How are you able to completely erase the original source? Because the original source is the mind flayer, and went for Will straight without the middleman, without Vecna, without Billy. The mind flayer was able to contact Will directly, which is probably what people thought was what his mouth was sucked onto when, you know, Hopper and Joyce found him. They thought it was the mind flayer. But now all of a sudden we done introduce third party. Now it's the third party, but the third party is also being controlled by the mind flayer. So it's like, what are we doing here? What I'm saying is, how I feel about the situation. It should be 2 hours,
right? Because
there's a lot of questions that need to be answered that are still being asked.
And what happened to the giant flesh mind flayer thing? Where's that body? Where'd that go?
Where did that go? As far as we know, because that whole place blew up. Didn't the whole mall blow up because of the Russians that were underneath it? And that's what we thought Hopper was dead? That mall is not the same.
You think so?
I don't think either the government took over that mall just as the same, or the mall blew up or unusable. Because where did it go? You can't just leave a big old flesh kaiju in the middle of a fucking mall in America and not have nothing happen. Did you see the shit that happened, I forget, like a few weeks ago? It was like some weird fight incident that happened in the Miami mall, and there was like no footage of it on the inside. And it was like literally every police officer in Miami came, and they had like all these different agencies that came to the mall, but there's no footage of the inside of the mall, apparently.
Crazy.
No footage of the fight, no footage of anything. And so the speculation and conspiracies is that it was like alien related, because there's not a single phone. You know, when there's a fight, it'd be like, oh, fight. There's at least 10 phones with some angle of the fight. Like, even the little girl on the escalator in England, that was like a couple years ago, when got off the escalator and beat that lady up and went back on the escalator, there was footage of that. So you telling me there's a fight in the mall and there's no phone footage, no security found footage, nothing? That is a little bit suspicious. I don't know if it's alien related, but that definitely is suspicious.
I'm so excited for the final episode. It's going to be so many closings.
There's a lot of closings, and we're gonna see whose end was kept loose for possible spinoff.
Right, because we know they're gonna try to spin it off at least.
Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna try to spin this off. I don't know how, but with Stranger Things being one of Netflix's anchor shows, along with Orange is the New Black, I would say also House of Cards. Sadly, even though we don't talk about the main actor of that show, definitely came out around the time Netflix started doing original series and really put Netflix on the map as shows to watch.
Right.
So with it ending all these years later and hopefully coming to an appropriate close, at least with our core cast, we should get some kind of resolve. And then any side characters that they decide to keep a loose end is obviously going to be the people they're going to spin off. Now, I don't think they're going to kill off 11, because I do think they're going to spin her and Callie off.
Of course.
Really do.
At least they're going to give her a happy ending, but they're definitely going to try to spin Callie off again.
They're going to spin Callie off again. I don't know.
And maybe the kids too. Maybe Derek and what's her name? Holly,
Derek, interesting. Yeah, this is going to be interesting, because the way that the this season has been going. It hasn't been terrible. We're getting a lot of I got a lot of good things out of it. I know there's a lot of speculation of there wasn't enough that happened, because we're expecting like jam-packed action like as soon as the season started, because of where we're at and the threat that we're already facing. I understand people's need for, immediate action, but yeah, some of these conversations could have happened in that 18 months that we decided to just skip over. And if this was going to be the last season, it should have been more episodes.
Right.
Like, for some reason, we've become British TV, where seasons don't last more than 10 episodes, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's horrible. The first actually, Stranger Things might have been one of the first shows they actually do that kind of thing.
It was. Netflix was the one to introduce short seasons, because I don't know how many episodes Orange is the New Black was, but I know at least for Kimmy Schmidt, they didn't go past like 10 episodes as far as I knew. Or if they did it, maybe 12, 11, or I could be lying.
I think they might have done that in season 4.
Yeah, it's season 4.
Season 4 was longer, I think, that's the last season, season 4.
You be saying that, but I think it's 5. But anyway.
Because that was when they started splitting seasons to try to...
Yeah, this whole splitting season things is not great either. Like, even when Bridgerton, I even had this moment the other day when they first started doing Bridgerton. I remember watching season 1 in one day. I watched that entire first season in one day, because I remember being in my room having nothing to do, and then watching like the last episode with Daphne and the Duke in the rain all in one day. And I definitely do remember watching season 2 the same way. Now season 3, the one with Penelope, because obviously they have Lady Whistledown and all that stuff, they split that in 2, which they did need to do, because that's definitely a show that needs to be binge watched in one day, which I still have not done. And now they're splitting Stranger Things into 2. They split Kimmy Schmidt into 2. This whole splitting a season into 2 makes no sense, because it's not like it's 8 episodes for part 1, 8 episodes for part 2, 16 episode season. It's 4 episodes, 2 months later another 4 episodes. Like, please miss me with that bullshit.
Just upload them all at the same time. People don't have time for that kind of stuff.
It's just 8 episodes. Like, please stop wasting my time.
Even for something like this, the first 4 were great, but like the last 3 were pretty sketchy.
Even like 3 and 1? Why are we doing that? So we're splitting into 3. So the first is 4, the second was only 3, and now we're waiting one more week for one more episode.
For the other 4th that didn't come with the batch.
You might as well have just done it week by week at this fucking point. You could have started it at Halloween with the first episode, and then been done with the season finale with every, like, I don't know if that would have lined up, but however it would have lined up, one episode a week. No, they could have started at Halloween.
They could have.
With only 8 episodes, they could have started at Halloween, 1 episode a week, and then they could have waited the season finale for New Year's, which it still could have waited. I think Netflix needs to learn to do it week by week and watch their show have more of a buzz than just the binge watch.
They also gave they gave Eleven a lot to do in the last season as well. Like, she down to Chopper with her mind in the desert.
The Duffers had mentioned that 11 was supposed to be a superhero in this season, and instead of making her main focus as they usually do in all the seasons, they've decided to make Will the focus this season, which isn't wrong, because he is a key point in all of this since season 1, because he was the one that got kidnapped and took to the Upside Down. But if we are pulling focus on someone who has powers, she needs to have the same amount of screen time as Will. And I understand, I think they diminished her screen time because she was spending time with Hopper. A lot of the times if you realize all of her scenes that she does get more screen time with, she's with the other group members, or she's with someone to help hone in her powers. But Hopper never really has a lot of screen time in general, because he's another plot device. He's a plot device for Joyce, and he's a plot device for 11 as a father figure to replace quote unquote Papa.
It's so funny because I just joked about this, but Will has been such like a non-character in this show for a very long time that when they actually gave him lines, it feels like
he's a new character. because I don't know. That's also a thing with people who, I don't know who's also in this writer's room. When we see the credits, it says written by the Duffer Brothers. This is also a problem when you isolate your writer's room, because then you're not getting enough feedback on continuity. You're not getting enough feedback on, or not enough people are in the room asking questions for it to make sense. And with a lot of the interviews and stuff and articles coming out of the Duffer Brothers saying that they wanted more time, or they wanted, or they had so much time to come up with all this, but that they needed more time to really work on it. So it's like, what is the real thing? Did you have enough time to work on it? Because y'all had all this time to come up with it, but yet you still need more time to flesh it out. So it's clear that y'all didn't have enough time.
Which is crazy, because the allotted window would have been 28, and that's crazy because last season came out in 24, so that would have been like 4 years.
4 years.
And would have had to explain it.
Gone.
Would have had to explain a 4-year jump.
Yeah, I think them doing that time jump was explaining the time jump of the seasons as well as the growth of the kids, which is a cop out, because not only could y'all have done this back to back, obviously scheduling issues, yada yada yada, but it would have been beneficial for them to do this back to back, but also to flesh out the story more. A lot of the people who have these masterpieces that people like to uphold or claim, these people have had time to really sit on the story and really flesh out, or even just rewrite, redo, or what they need to do, or to make sure that the story makes sense. Like, I haven't seen any of the newer Avatars, the last two that just came out, but in the sense of, what's his name? James Cameron, giving himself time to, because apparently he's been working for at least the first Avatar. He worked on like 2 decades on the first Avatar, and
15 years on the next two.
And those have been acclaimed of the CGI and the movements and the technology he used for the movies is like, not never before, but it's innovative and it's forward thinking, and it's those things that really benefit a filmmaker or even just like a creative in your process, because you need to give time to things to let them marinate and for it to be a good story and for it to I guess make sense, especially if you're not gonna go further with your story. Like, this is the end all be all. This is it. So y'all got some explaining to do, for real.
Yeah, like, spin this off, prequel it, but hopefully you just can wrap up every single thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, they gotta figure out how to wrap this up nicely.
That's we said a lot, right?
We did say a lot. I'm starting to get tired.
I'm tired too.
All right, this has been fun. Until next time, y'all.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a nice night.
A night, bitch. What?
Have a nice time.